Well, once again, we are awaiting President Trump. He's going to be giving a speech at the D-Day anniversary commemoration in Normandy, France. The president going to pay homage to the tens of thousands of Allied forces who faced the Germans head-on.
Joining us now is James Carafano of the Heritage Foundation. James, good morning. I also want to point out for your viewers that you are a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and the author of this book right here, After D-Day, Operation Cobra and the Normandy Breakout. So good to have you, James.
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, just to be here live for this historic event, it's really something. So thanks so much. This is something never to forget.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me about your book, Operation Cobra. What exactly was that and its impact on World War II?
So what's really interesting is everybody remembers getting ashore on D-Day, which, look, no question, that was an incredible moment in military history. But once the Allies got on shore, they kind of landed in the wrong place. The French farm country there is known as hedgerow country. So instead of fences, they have these high berms of dirt that bound all their fields. Well, those are just basically fortifications for the Germans to hide behind. So the Allies bogged down in what looked more like trench warfare from 1917 than what we think of in World War II. For 6 weeks, we were bottled up in Normandy until Omar Bradley organized what was called Operation Cobra, which was a breakout. So we brought in a whole bunch of bombers. We bombed the heck out of the German lines. We pushed some divisions through. We blow a hole in the German lines. And essentially that started Patton on his way to Brittany, but also allowed the Allies to pivot and turn and head towards Paris. And really, that was the beginning of the end, because that was the real second front that took the pressure off the Russians and really started us on our way to Berlin.
It really did. The beginning of the end of Adolf Hitler during that time. But as we watch these live pictures, we are watching, of course, President Trump and his wife Melania, the First Lady. You know, here we are today, and our country still is facing different national security threats, whether it's the immigration crisis at the southern border, whether it's the Chinese espionage threats that we're facing, whether it's from a company like Huawei, whether it's the Chinese government, whether it's Kim Jong-un in North Korea. We still are a free nation, but is our freedom under threat right now, James?
You know, well, the one great lesson of D-Day, I mean, we have this very trite saying is kind of, politics ends at America's shores, that we have this bipartisanship and unity in foreign policy. And D-Day is the one constant reminder that when Americans pull themselves together, we can accomplish incredible feats. So contrast that, for example, with not to be partisan, but what's going on the border, where essentially you have two political parties, one preventing you from dealing with the true national security interests.
James, I want to talk about the reception that the president is receiving in Europe, in the UK, and now in France. As the president and President Macron processed down that red carpet just moments ago, both sides flanked by flags of both countries, they paused, they shook hands with a number of the veterans, and people are, it was heard by one of the poolers, which is essentially someone in the press, that someone said, hey, you're our president too. Come on up this way. What is the reception that the president is receiving?
Well, I think that's a really important question, because it's a lot of focus on the protests in Britain and missing the point that there are actually a lot of people in Britain that look at Trump and they say that's the kind of leader we want. And I think many people broadly recognize that the United States remains a powerful force for good in the world. And it's moments like this when we kind of put our politics aside and take the, and we don't look at the Trump in our head, but we look at the President of the United States and what the United States can do. And then all of a sudden our demeanor, our attitude really changes, and we recognize America for what it is, which is a tremendous force for good in the world.
Yeah. James Carafano, thank you very much.
You bet.